I'm here at the end of the session with Zeus. I have some treats here to keep him occupied, and this is his roadmap to success. Now, he's a puppy, and I think he's a little bit under-exercised as guardian. One of the first questions is, why doesn't he play outside? Well, there's not a lot outside for him. It's kind of boring. So for dogs, they prefer playing with other puppies. So hopefully the guardian will sign him up for our puppy class, or he can take our 2-on class. Socialization is super duper important for puppies and up until 9 months. It's important after that, but it's most effective up until 9 months. So I'd like to see the guardian setting a rule or a goal of trying to have him meet at least 3 or 4 new dogs every week up until he's 9 or 10 months. That will help him kind of develop social skills just like us. First time I asked a girl out, it was very awkward. Now I'm still awkward, but I have a little bit of experience at it. So same sort of thing for him. We need him to be able to understand how to invite another dog to play and how to say, I don't want to play with you, without trying to bite the dog's head off. And a lot of dogs that are really reactive that you've seen out and about are dogs that just didn't have a lot of socialization experience. So it's really, really, really important. So let me see. We went through a number of things during this session. I'm going to kind of, looks like he's about to ready to take a nap. Dogs sleep about 17 hours a day on average. Puppies sleep even more. So it's not at all unusual. We just had a little playtime outside. Let's see if we can get him to settle down, and we'll just have him, hopefully you can still see him with the gray and my gray pants. Okay, so one of the things that he does is he likes to mouth and nip, which is pretty common for puppies. So what I did was I explained kind of the 3 methods that I use. First method is anytime his teeth touch me, even if it's accidental, I yelp like, ah! And you saw how he stopped. Then I freeze for 1 second, and if the dog freezes, then I would go back to petting him. Now, if I do that and he keeps on jumping up, it might be he has reason number 3. And I'll get to that one in a sec. But first reason, the second thing I do, if the yelping doesn't work, I yelp and I freeze for a second. If that doesn't work, then I pull a nylabone out of my back pocket, something like this, or it could be an antler or any other thing that's kind of like the shape of a pen. Always have one in your pocket. So as soon as he starts chewing on you or mouthing you, kind of go like this, go like this, go over here. See, I'm kind of teasing him to see how he's chasing after it. What I want him to do is eventually just latch onto it and then let him take it away from me. And now it's like a trophy. And usually, now I'm holding him, but usually a dog would get up and go across the room and then chew the spoils of their battle. I won, I took the trophy away. We redirected him into something we want him to chew on, number 1, and immediately pick up another one and put it in your back pocket. So I guess that's option number 2, not option number 1. Now the third option is if you try both those and he's not interested in this, and you yelp and it just makes him more excited, usually means the dog is tired and cranky. When puppies get tired and cranky, they get very mouthy. So at that point, I would take him into his puppy playroom, put him in there, and close the door, and just leave him in there until he takes a nap. Now, the puppy playroom, what is the puppy playroom? I should have it linked above in the write-up on this, if you're looking at this on doggoneproblems.com. When I get a puppy, what I do is I create a puppy playroom. A lot of people kennel train their dogs. You can do that, but I find a puppy playroom, if you have the real estate to do it, is much, much more effective. So what I do is I go, and this will again be linked up to a post that I did for my puppy quest that explains how to do it, has links on how to get the stuff. But basically what you do is you basically put puppy playpens around on all the walls, and you put vinyl flooring on top of the carpet. You don't install it, you just lay it on top of the carpet. Then you put the puppy playpens on the walls to protect your walls, and then you fill it up with a whole bunch of great treat dispensing, or great toys, including some treat dispensing toys. So then the dog and the kennel should be set up in a way that the door is latched open all the time, and the only soft place in the whole area to sleep on is inside the kennel. And right now we have the training kennel with the little partition. You can pull that out, get a mat that fits the inside of your kennel, and just put it on the corner or on the side somewhere in the puppy playroom. The dog will start going in there to sleep, and it kennel trains your dog without actually spending any time and effort doing it. The dog should eat in here, you should sleep in here, it should be put in there anytime that the human can't supervise, or if it gets really mouthy and nippy like I talked about before. Now, I like to have a whole lot of toys, and on Quest Ed, doggoneproblems.com/quest-ed is the section I have all these videos. But I might have this one linked up above as well, is I have a post about toys. It's important for him we call this enrichment. So in the puppy playroom, behind the puppy playgate, like between the wall and the puppy playgate, I have a long mirror, and I put it on its side. And so the dog sees reflections and gets used to reflections. A lot of dogs, they see a reflection for the first time, later on they chase it everywhere. And it can be an annoying habit, or the reflection startles them. So we want to have good enrichment in the kennel, or in the playpen. So the other thing I have a little wire basket, and it's square, it's about maybe that tall, and the side that, one of the sides has kind of like a dip where the dog can kind of get into it. And I pick up all the toys and put it in there each morning when I get the dog out of there. So now the dog has a whole bunch of fun, awesome stuff to play in. They can run around if they want. If they have an accident, you don't really care because it's easy. It's contained in one room and it's not on the carpet. We can clean it up easily. For the first time you put him in there, when he does have an accident or potties in there, whatever part of the area that he pees on, after you clean it up, that's where you should put the puppy pad. If you're lucky, the dog will continue going in that same spot. If you put it one place and then move it somewhere else, he will pee all over the place. And so it'd be nice if we had puppy pad train him, even though he's going to be a dog door and all the rest of that stuff. It just makes it easier for cleanup. Now, if he does go elsewhere, don't worry about it. That's the video above covers all the tips and tricks that you need to potty train any puppy. If you have any questions on that, please call me or text me. I can help you. Now, in addition to the puppy playroom or a playpen helping kennel train him, it also helps prevent him from developing what we call separation anxiety. A lot of the times, especially when we get puppies, I'm going to keep you here just because, well, I guess you just did potty, so I can let you down. But a lot of puppies, they they get so used to being 100% access of the humans. When the humans go to work, I don't know how to deal with that. I go from 100% to 0. That's too much for me to deal with. So by having him sleep in the puppy playroom, eat in the puppy playroom out of treat dispensing toys, which I'll talk about in a second, as well as anytime he can't be supervised, that's his room. He just gets used to it and he's very comfortable in there. Dogs get into habits. Their neural pathways align the more that they do things. The more that he's out and he chews on the cable box over there, or chews on some shoes, or the carpet, or the bag, or whatever it is. No. Are they coming in? Okay. Don't keep going. We're gonna have to roll this. Whoops. We're filming, so you have to come in, but you got to come in and be quiet if you could. All right. So we have some visitors. Go on upstairs, buddy. So we're filming our Roadmap to Success video. See, I do it all. I answer the door. I'm a butler and a dog behaviorist. Okay, so for the puppy playroom, it helps the dog practice being alone, which is huge. Now, I also mentioned I would go over training or feeding the puppy out of play toys. Now, I like to feed a puppy at least 3 times a day. I actually feed mine 5 times a day. I want them to eat small meals so that their stomach doesn't have to expand, and then later on in life they have to eat a lot more to feel full. So what I do is I feed out of treat dispensing toys for about 2 months. Now the Guardian, if she comes to our puppy class, we can actually hook her up. We sell these at our class. One of the ones we use is an Omega treat ball. You can get it on Amazon. So it's a ball that you have to nudge just right to get a couple pieces of kibble coming out. I put all the dog's meal in there. I actually usually have 3 or 4 different toys, so different problem solving. It helps their intelligence. It helps them earn their food, which makes them have pride in it. It helps them boost their self-esteem because there's solving a problem. But it also takes about 15 or 20 minutes to eat. So we put him in the playroom, we fill up 1 or 2 of these toys, we put it on the ground. The funny thing is, it's funny to watch him. They nudge this thing around like they're a soccer player with their nose. But now he's earning his food, which makes him feel better about himself. And we put the food down, then we can close the door to the room and leave and go do laundry or go to work or do other things that we have to do. And by the time he gets done eating, he realizes he's alone, there's nobody to complain to. And just take a little bit of a nap. And again, if he has accidents in there, that's okay, because the potty training video above will take care of those problems. But having some treat dispensing toys are huge. Now, I have another post on Quest Ed. Yes, I know, buddy. Well, I don't want you to run upstairs because you might pee. He's having accidents in the house. And when the dog has accidents in the house, you want to limit their access. Put up some baby gates or use the puppy playpen or whatever it is. Again, they get in a habit of doing things. And if he gets in a habit of peeing in that corner, he'll continue to pee in that corner. That's why we don't want to limit or let the dog have free run until they earn it. He's pooped. Okay, so let me see. What else did we go over? Passive training and petting with a purpose. So petting with a purpose is if the dog jumps up on me and I pet him, anything the dog is doing when we pet it is what we're reinforcing. This also includes unbalanced states of mind like fear, stress, anxiety, and excitement, which most people confuse for happiness. Dog can be happy and calm. It can be excited and happy, they frequently are, but it can also be excited and not happy. So what I do is every time the dog comes up and scratches and jumps up on me, if I pet him, I'm telling him this is the proper way to ask someone to pet you. Instead, what I do is I give him a counter order, tell him to sit. When he sits, I like to pet dogs under their chin, because when a dog feels good about itself, his nose is parallel to the ground or tilted up. So I pet him under the chin and I say just the word sit. Not good sit, not the dog's name, not, oh, what a smart dog, you sat down. Just sit. The more words we use when we're training, the harder it is for him to understand. And then I can pet him for an hour after that if I want, but he has to do something to change his state. After a while, what will happen is the dog will come up and sit in front of you to prepay for attention. When he does that, we want to make sure we reach over and pet him and acknowledge that. Otherwise, he's going to go back to jumping up on you because that's what gets attention. For puppies, really for dogs in general, attention is very validating. And there's not much of a difference between good attention and bad attention. So if I steal your shoes, you get up and instantly chase me. Many people train their dogs to do the wrong things because when it does the wrong things, that's the easiest way to get the human's attention. That leads me in something I call passive training. Passive training is simply recognizing the dog did something we want within that 3-second window. Remember, you have 3 seconds to correct or reward your dog. So, and have them have the ability to make the connection. So if he's sitting here and then he lies down on his own and I pet him within that 3 seconds and say crash. Use funny command words and one-word commands and not commonly used words. So if every time he lays down I say crash, well then after a while I say crash and he will lay down anticipating getting the reward. So I do this for lay down, for sit, for come. If he brings you a specific toy, if he brings you this, maybe we call this purple or Twizzler or whatever. You come up with a funny name for each toy. But now you have a vocabulary that you can actually use to communicate what you want. Now, I also like to give dogs directional commands. Tailing a dog to leave a room is something that a lot of dogs interpret as like a triple or quadruple negative. Being excluded from the group is a negative. Being chewed out is validating for the dog, but they can tell from our tone of voice that we're not happy with them. Then we kind of, our body language, we're trying to shove them out the room. That makes them, that's like I said, triple or quadruple negative. So if I want a dog to get off the couch, what I'm going to do is use positive reinforcement. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to let him sniff that I have a treat. I put it on the ground. He licks it up, and I say the word off. Remember, anytime you use a treat, you want to say the dog's command word after the treat goes in the mouth, right after. And I do that every time he gets off the furniture. And I would also go to every room in the house we want to potentially leave. Take one of these treats. These are the tricky trainer chicken livers. I'm going to leave these here with you. Make sure you burp all the air out of the bag. They have no preservatives. That's why they work so great. Here. So you'd say just the command word. You're doing very good, buddy. I also use this hand motion to get a dog to come, and to get them to sit, I go over their head, sit. Then I pet under the chin. So I do this, I go to, like, let's say I'm in the room and this is the doorway and the hallway's here, and the dog's here, I touch the dog's nose with my treat, I toss it right outside the room, dog goes outside the room, I say the word out. Let it come back and do it a second time, and then I go to the next room. Do that with every room in your house, twice a day. In a week, you'll be able to say out, and he'll leave any room voluntarily. He'd be happy to leave. Now, one of the other things I went over outside was teaching the dog to drop, which is really important. So if I'm the dog and I have this in my mouth, or a shoe or something, and you get up and chase me, and you try to take it from me, well, then I have your attention as long as I'm holding this thing. So what we want a dog to do is learn to drop with what we call low-value items. He's allowed to have this at any point in time. This is not a this is a low-value item. A high-value item is like a shoe, or a slipper, or the remote control, or whatever it is. When he has that, we instantly chase him. What we want him to do is learn to drop everything. And we start with the easiest capacity possible. So when he has one of these things in his mouth, we take a treat out, and we just hold it in front of his nose. Now he'll try to take it while he's got the object in his mouth, and then he'll realize he can't do that. As soon as he drops it, put it in his mouth and say the word drop. After a while, after you do this with toys, and then, so for the dog's perspective, he's like, so if you tell me to drop, I drop something, you put the best treat I've ever had in my mouth, and then I get my stuff back, that's a deal. Well, then eventually later on when he does steal underwear or something he's not allowed to have, we say drop, he will spit it out to get the treat because it's no longer thinking it's a way of having leverage over you. Now, I talked about going to the Green Spot, my favorite pet store here in Omaha, and I gave the Guardian this to give her $5 off. It's the only store in Nebraska that's owned by people who studied animal nutrition as a college degree. So the food that he's eating is not probably the best food, and we would like to get him on some goat's milk. So ask the Green Spot. It'll just be a frozen thing. Just give him a shot of goat's milk. Make sure you do it early in the day. I gave mine to the dog late at night, and he had diarrhea all over the room. During the day, he'll be able to absorb it. Now, sometimes dogs do become lactose intolerant, so if he consistently has diarrhea, then stop. But the Green Spot is also owned by a couple of wonderful women named Jess and Whitney, who studied animal nutrition for their degree in college. There's different feeding a dog higher or lower protein foods could really help. The other thing about their store that's awesome is they have all sorts of edibles. And I don't mean California medical marijuana stuff. I mean like tracheas, kneecaps, chicken's feet, bully sticks. Bully sticks, make sure you get the odor-free bully sticks. And I would get the bully pieces for him, which are going to be like the tip of it. It's kind of chopped down. And don't get more than 1 or 2 of those a day. probably one a day. We don't like using rawhide because they're soaked in bleach and ammonia, a lot of other chemicals, and because the dog ingests them, they cause problems. So if we have a bunch of those things, and then if we have a guest come over, we can give him a bully stick, then he has a positive, when the guest comes over, I get a bully stick, which I like. I'm preoccupied by eating the bully stick or whatever else it is. And then the guests are like, your dog is so well behaved. And I'm like, of course, we hired Dog On Problems. He showed us how to do this. Now, something else I like to do is dogs, two things that help dogs get over cancer or prevent cancer are carrots and broccoli. So I actually train my dogs to eat carrots, and I put a little broccoli maybe once a week. I put it in their dry food. Now, remember, for the treat dispensing toys, we want to do that for about 2 to 3 months in the room for every meal. And again, try to feed them 3 to 5 times a day. Then you can transition to a bowl. When you go to a bowl, put the bowl in, and while you're feeding them out the toy or in the bowl, the human needs to eat something first. It doesn't have to be a real meal, just a chip or cracker, 5 more bites, then we give the dog permission to eat. That helps the dog see you as having a status. So we actually, let me see, for carrots, what I do when puppies, a lot of times, and he's kind of going through teething right now, but he's close to being done. So what I do is I typically put some shredded carrot in with the dog's food in their bowl. And the Guardian here has one of the dual bowls. They're both together. Get an elevated one. You can get it at the Green Spot, but I probably get it on Amazon or Chewy or something like that. With 2 little metal bowls you can put in there. It helps with drooling, and it also, he can't pick it up right now. He pick it up and carry it around the house. So basically I put a little bit of the shreds of carrots to get him to develop a taste for it. Most dogs like carrots anyways. There's a little sugar in them. Then I get the baby carrots, and I can actually keep the regular carrot in my pocket as one of those things to give him, although it'll get a little rubbery if you keep it in your pocket too long. But again, it helps them ward off a type of cancer, and it's a nice way for them to kind of chew on something, which dogs do when they're bored. And the last thing is I actually start freezing them, and then when the dog's chewing on something we don't like, I whistle. If the dog's, let's say I'm the dog and I'm starting to chew on this leg of the couch. Well, the human goes to the fridge, pulls a couple of the baby carrots out of the freezer, rinses the hard frost off, then wraps on the floor over here. As a dog, I'm chewing on this. Usually I'm licking first to chew it to get it soft. Then I'm going to start chewing. So if you see me licking, go get the carrots and then make a wrapping sign on the floor. I'm going to look, and when you do, drop the carrots. Don't place them, drop them. Dogs' eyes are very good for movement. So if you drop a couple from about a couple inches, now I'm going to turn away from whatever I want to chew on, and I'm going to go eat these carrots. And now when I get done, I'm looking in this direction. I have now forgotten about the item that I was about to start chewing on. Just like having kids redirecting dogs' attention is very valuable and a very appropriate way to go about it. So the more that we provide him with the, and for appropriate chew toys, I also have a post on Quest Ed. I like to see some plushies, some rope tug toys, some treat dispensing toys, problem solving toys, as well as a couple balls, some squeaking sounds. You can also get stuffless if they're tearing it up. He's a small dog, so he'd probably be able to get away with that. Bigger dogs typically rip a hole and then pull the stuffing out. Make sure he doesn't eat that stuff, but they make skinless toys as well. But have a whole bunch of them. And what I usually do is, and the edibles I would keep for special occasions. I mean, or just, here, I wouldn't leave those in the playroom very often. But what I do is I would have like about 15 to 20 toys that are in the playroom at any one time. But I would probably have another 10 or 15 toys in a closet or a box somewhere. So let's say I have a box right here. What I do is I take a toy out of the playroom, I put it in the beginning of the box, and then I grab from the end of the box another toy, and I put that one down. So we have a rotation. Eventually this one goes to this position, eventually it'll come back out and go back in the room. So this way the dog gets a variety and the toys become more something that they're interested in. If you just give the dog 10 toys all at once, it's just like, great, but then after a couple days I'm not that interested. By rotating, we keep them a little bit fresher. Let me see. Anything else you want to go over? I think we covered a lot. Now the puppy class, like I said, is going to help with his confidence, but it's really, really important. And so I see a lot of dogs that are single dogs, that are little dogs that don't get socialized properly, and they get very insecure and aggressive later on because they don't have that practical experience. So do that as much as possible. Our 201 class is like a lot of basic stuff, and then we have a 301 class which specifically does loose leash walking. For him and for all dogs, you want to avoid pulling the dog with the leash. Dogs have something called an opposition reflex. They are programmed, they were guaranteed will pull against you if you pull on the leash. So some people in Omaha, a lot of places like to use prong collars, which are illegal in every country. I don't like using them. It's a pain-causing device. I've never needed to. You don't need to punish a dog to get it to listen to you. But if the dog is pulling on a leash and you try to pull it back, it's going to be a struggle the whole time, a tug of war. So instead, you can teach your dog really easily to turn around, when it gets the end of the leash, turn around, come back to you. This is one of the things we go over in our 301 class. So hopefully you can get them in the 301 class as well. And we have socialization, but that one exclusively loose leash walking, because that's the most important thing for most people. They want their dog to be well behaved on a walk. Okay, well, this is, he is pretty much asleep at this point. Yeah, you could page down to him. I'm laughing because I've worked with a number of Zeuses, and he is by far the biggest, and I'm not kidding. I'm very much kidding. Usually Zeus is a dog this big, but it suits him. All right, well, this is Zeus's roadmap to success. Remember, everything that you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.